Hello everyone, welcome back to another One Cruise video. We're back for free-to-play, 100% free-to-play teams for the new treasure map versus Nami, where you can get the Super Evolution skulls for the Parking Adventures Hancock. Now, these teams aren't just free-to-play, they're also extremely fast and have good damage. Now, the final boss in Intrusion, very difficult to build with a fully free-to-play team, but we will see what strategies I use later on in the video. Let's start off with the mini bosses, starting off with Carrot. She's an int character, weak to cerebral enemies. She will have 6 turns of damage reduction, 3 turns of defense up, and 3 turns of threshold. She has full immunity, so you can't give her defense down to 0. But what we are using is a kid and law based team as a captain, mainly for his amazing special ability, which is going to give us wave clear and also a chain boundary and chain growth rate effect. We have Zoro there, who is a recommended character. He's great for providing an orb boost, but also removing the enemy's defense up and threshold. Since we have a Luffy character on the team, this will proc this effect where we get the utility. So if you aren't using this Luffy, then make sure you at least have a support character on Zoro, who is a Luffy unit. In terms of Frankie, he's going to remove 5 of the 6 turns of the damage reduction. And then the supportive killer, this is a point farming event character who is available in the Recollection Archive. This character will remove a turn of enemies damage reduction when it is activated. So that alongside Frankie will remove all the defense up, the damage reduction, and then Frankie will also give us a color affinity boost. Now Luffy, you might be wondering why we're using the 5-star Luffy, not the 5-star plus. The reason is they have different specials. So this 5-star Luffy is actually a great character because he wave clears and then also gives us a 3-turn attack boost, which can be carried over until the final stage. The Super Evolution Luffy, he doesn't do damage any special, so very different, and you might want to buy a copy of this Luffy in the Parking Adventures ticket shop. So what we're going to do is, stage 1 we'll use Kid and Law to wave clear. Stage 2, Luffy to wave clear and give us an attack boost. And then on the final stage, we'll just use the specials of Zoro, Frankie, and our other kid-in-law to provide us a color affinity, orb boost, and a good chain multiplier. We have Chopper there, who can be used any Psy cerebral character. You could also use the Nami from the Psy free-to-play Straw Hats, any cerebral Psy character, and ideally a boosted unit who you have a decent investment in, so that you can actually get a decent amount of damage, because of course the enemy is weak to cerebrals, and of course int character, type advantage, class advantage. So that's a pretty good team. I'm very happy with how this turned out, and it's pretty fast. 3 specials and 1 support on the final stage, although you only need to use Kid and Law very later on in the treasure map for the chain. You don't need him for gimmick removal, so it's technically 2 specials and 1 support. Very good. Next is going to be using Sanji and Frankie. Now you might be wondering, why not using Sanji and Frankie for the final boss? They are a 1.4x point booster, which is the best you'll get from a free-to-play unit. The thing is, they don't do enough to warrant being used on the final boss team. As I said, it's quite difficult to build with a fully free-to-play team, final boss and Intrusion. So Sanji and Frankie, as well as the Hancock, couldn't find a place on the team, so we are using them in the mini bosses. So Sanji and Frankie themselves deal with basically every gimmick on this fight. You need some type of captain that's going to resist blow away. You could use treasure map Jack, you could use treasure map Weevil. Both of those captains negate blow away, but Sanji and Frankie is a great option. They are only a 4x attack boosting captain, but to be honest, it's enough. You really don't need anything more. Double Sanji and Frankie, they are going to have type advantage. They're going to have very high stats because they are going to have a 2.5x increase in their stats. They will have type advantage. They'll also have class advantage since the enemy is weak to shooters. So Sanji and Frankie themselves are going to be dealing so much damage that it doesn't even really matter that our captain isn't very strong. It's only 4x. But regardless, what are we running for the rest of the team here? So we need a character that's going to give our captains a matching orb at the start of the quest. So we are using this Mihawk, who is a co-op character, free-to-play character. But really, any character that gives you matching orbs as a crewmate will work. So you could use someone like the Shirahoshi characters that have Sailor abilities to give you a full board of rainbow orbs, but this is the best free-to-play option. He gives our Sanji and Frankies a tandem orb, which is counted as matching. So he's not really used for a special, but you can use him for a orb boost when you get to a higher nav level and you lack damage. But the main character here besides Sanji and Frankie is our Luffy and Ace. This character does not have a level limit break. He's one of the only treasure map characters that doesn't have their upgrade yet, but this character's special is still really nice. Now, besides the blowaway, we get 8 turns of bind after sockets, and Sanji and Frankie only removes 4 turns of it. You could use Sanji and Frankie special twice with the double special activation, but the second activation really doesn't do anything else besides removing the bind. So it's kind of redundant. Well, not redundant, it's just inefficient. So instead, we are using a separate character to remove the other 4 turns of bind in Luffy and Ace. And they will provide an attack boost and color affinity on top of the bind removal. So this character is really efficient. The only problem is their cooldown is kind of high, so we have to use the Izo and the Kid and the Coliseum Kid character to give us a lot of cooldown. You also need a -2 cooldown ship to ensure that Luffy and Ace is ready. You could also attach a support like Brule or any cooldown reducing support. Unfortunately, there's no free-to-play option, so I'm not using that. Instead, we are using Coliseum Kid to wave clear on stage 1 and also provide us 2 turns of cooldown, and then Izo on stage 2 to wave clear and provide us an extra 1 turn of cooldown. Luckily, every character here does get cooldown from the quest, so that's 5 turns, but you still need a bit of extra help. So overall, the rundown for this team: stage 1, use Kid. If his wave clear doesn't kill, you can just pass the turn and then the end of turn damage will kill. It'll also give you 2 turns of cooldown. Stage 2, Izo wave clears, and then on the final stage, use Sanji and Frankie once for bind removal and a chain boundary effect, and then use Luffy and Ace for an attack boost, color affinity, and the remaining turns of bind removed. Make sure that Luffy and Ace is on the right side of your team, otherwise they will get binded and you will not be able to use their special. So very important that they are on the right column. So with all that, you could also use, as I said, Mihawk on the final stage for an orb boost in addition to the attack and color affinity from Ace and Sabo. So in total, it's 2 specials only on the final stage, and you get a chain boundary, an attack boost, and a color affinity, guaranteed matching orbs from the Mihawk Sailor ability, and of course, an orb boost optional from Mihawk's special. Sanji and Frankie will be doing so much damage. Very happy with that team. The next one here, this one's very interesting. So Kanjuro is a character I usually hate because he has such odd conditions when it comes to his special ability. So first off, let me just take a look at what Kanjuro does. He's a 4-turn defense up and threshold reducer. He also is going to give you a conditional attack boost, which he does proc, but it doesn't go through immunity. And then he also provides a color affinity only to strength, and the condition also requires you to have a driven captain. So there's way too many conditions and not enough abilities to warrant using this character normally. But in this quest, very, very good. So we want to be running strength characters, of course, since the enemy is Dex. We also want to be using free spirit characters since the enemy is weak to free spirit. Our strength, Dex, and quick units will be getting cooldown on this quest. The enemy will have 8 turns of defense up, but we can get around it using a defense reducer. So Hancock is a great option for this. We also need someone to reduce threshold by 6 turns. So what are we doing here? First off, we are going to be using Hancock to set the enemy's defense to 0. Then we can use Kanjuro. That's going to give our strength units color affinity. Since our Big Mom is a driven character as our captain, that will activate that. And Kanjuro will also give us a defense down conditional attack boost, which is procced by Hancock. That will allow us to get even more damage. So Kanjuro, and he'll also remove 4 turns of the threshold. So Kanjuro is doing a lot here. He's removing threshold. He's giving us 2 types of damage boosting effects. So he's a great character to run here. Now you might be wondering, the conditional boost from Kanjuro only works if your captain's slot is strength. And that's where Coliseum Kid comes into play. So this character has a very interesting Sailor ability, which sets all of our orbs into strength at the start of the quest. Since the enemy does not manipulate our orbs, we will have that on the final stage and allow us to get the full potential from Kanjuro's special. But you may be wondering, there's another 2 turns of threshold that we need to remove. That's where Big Mom comes into play, not only removing the threshold, but also providing us a chain lock. We also have Zoro for wave clear on stage 1 and 2. So overall, Hancock is going to be doing a massive amount of damage. She is the only character here who's dealing the damage, but remember, she has 2.5x stats, so she's going to be doing so much damage. She'll have a conditional attack boost and a color affinity, as well as a chain lock. And honestly, even though you don't have an attack and orb boost, the damage is going to be more than you'll need, especially if you aren't going too far on treasure map. Of course, Big Mom is also a really strong captain, 5.25x. Actually 5x, you don't have similar orbs, but it's still really strong from a free-to-play captain. Another reason why we run Big Mom as a captain is because she's a -2 cooldown reducer. Very important to make sure that Kanjuro is ready for the final stage. You just need some type of captain that gives you -1 cooldown. But that's about it for this team. Very happy with it, and it should work very well. Big Mom, of course, will also get enough cooldown from the quest, and she will be ready on the final stage. Then, oh yeah, and you don't need expansion on Big Mom. You do need level limit break 5 though. But you know, you should. You don't need level limit break 5. You only need level limit break 3 to have a captain upgraded. A special in regular form without level limit break still reduces the threshold, and it still is going to give you a chain lock. Then the final mini boss team. So this one gave me the most headache because I was trying very weird things. But Free Spirit Driven Cerebral gets a cooldown. The enemy is weak to Cerebral, and we get 5 turns of Despair, 5 turns of Special Bind to our crewmates, and then 8 turns of Special Bind to our captains. We also get a full board of block and unfavorable orbs. Okay, so I initially was trying to run Luffy as a captain. He does remove Special Bind. The issue is that Luffy will get 8 turns of Special Bind if he's the captain. And Perona, okay, no, Perona, she's a different character. So first off, Crocodile, very important. He's gonna remove 5 turns of the Special Bind. So your crewmates will now be free from Special Bind, your captains will not. And that's the reason why I couldn't use Luffy as the captain, because he will not be able to activate, because he'll still have 3 turns of Special Bind. And Luffy's special is very important here for Despair removal, a full board of matching orbs, and also a orb boost. This is, I think, one of the best free-to-play characters in the game. Just look at this captain. Look at this captain. This is a free-to-play character. 2 turns of cooldown, flat 5x to all characters in the game, and he reduces paralysis and attack down by 2 turns. Double Luffy, that's 4 turns. This is arguably better than the free Luffy you get at the start of the game, because this is a universal captain, and he also gives you 2 cooldown. Just such a good character, and he's special. We do get block orbs and unfavorable orbs. Luffy will change those into matching. Never mind, I realized this Luffy actually won't work after glazing him so hard. We actually get our type orbs counted as unfavorable by the enemy, so Luffy changes all orbs into matching, but those will be type orbs, those will be unfavorable. Best option is to use this Luffy instead, way better, because he also gives a base attack boost. So let's just take a look, make sure he gets his cooldown. Free Spirit gets cooldown, so Luffy will be ready. You won't need a -2 cooldown ship either, because we are running Nami as a captain, who's great because she reduces cooldowns by 2 turns at the start of the quest, and also a 5.25x attack boosting captain. Really good. Free to play units these days are mad, guys. You need Nami at level limit break 3, and of course max limit break, like regular limit break. You don't need expansion, you don't need level limit break 5 since we aren't using a special. But how this team works in terms of damage is, stage 1 and 2 we are using Bartolomeo. This character is also available in the Recollection archive. No, I think he's actually a paranormal character, I don't know, I can't remember. Either way, this character is great. He allows for double special activation wave clear on stage 1 and 2, but he also provides a chain lock which will last until the final stage. Now you might need to make sure this guy has a bit of investment just to make sure he kills. His stats are quite low, but honestly it should still be able to kill. We'll see how it goes in the treasure map. Either way, it should work, but if not, you might need a bit of investment, or just add a stat booster to him just to make sure he has enough damage to kill. But Luffy is great. He will change all orbs into recovery instead of a type orb. In addition to that, he will make recovery orbs count as beneficial as a sailor, so make sure he has at least that first sailor ability. And he'll of course remove the despair by 5 turns, which will completely remove it. Perona is just there as a damage dealer in addition to Crocodile. In cerebral characters, type advantage, class advantage, those 2 units will be dealing a lot of damage. Perona can also be used to give you a color affinity boost, and then you can also use Crocodile to remove the special bind, as I said earlier, but also provide an attack boost of 2.25x. So with all that, you have a 2.25x attack boost from Crocodile, a 2.25x orb boost from Luffy, a 2.25x color affinity from Perona, and then also a 2.75x chainlock from Bato. Of course, we have 2 attacking units in Crocodile and Perona. And of course, cerebral based captain, so everyone gets the attack boost. So thank you guys for watching this team. Why am I ending the video, man? So we're going to the final boss. This is the danger zone, guys. Look, we are running old Gramps Luffy. This is a April Fool's character, but he's actually viable in treasure map. This treasure map in particular, because look at this guy's captain ability here. He negates special rewind by 2 turns. That's actually good. He's also a 3.5x attack boosting captain for all characters in the game, which is not good, but since we are synergizing him with Ace, it kind of balances us out. Ace will give us a lot of damage. But now, final boss. So Drake and Whitebeard are our main synergizing characters that go with Ace. So of course, both of these final boss and Intrusion are going to be using Ace as a friend captain. Not a single pay-to-play character on this team. On this one though, you do need the Rakuyo support and the Mr. 1 Crocodile support. Just because I realized something when it comes to interrupts on the Intrusion that could mess you up if you don't have those supports. But those are very old characters, everyone should have them. But regardless, the final boss here, make sure you have a Luffy support on Robin. Any Luffy support in the game will work. Sasaki is not required, but he is recommended. Yeah, he's only going to allow us to get an extra 1.3x damage, so you don't need Sasaki. He's just going to help us get damage from the damage reduction based attack boost that Ace provides in his special. Okay, so stage 2, we get a full board of block orbs. We get 6 turns of attack down, a turn of bind, which Ace will convert into a 2.75x attack boost for 3 turns, and the enemy will make type orbs and tandem orbs and Wano very weak. So you need recovery orbs. You need to change the block orbs into recovery, and 6 turns of attack down. So what we are doing is we are using Robin and York. So York will set our bottom row into recovery orbs, which will be counted as matching, of course. This will mean that Whitebeard, who is a very strong character boosted by both of our captains and the Ace's attack boost, he's going to be hitting like a truck because he has that recovery orb. So make sure Whitebeard is on the bottom row next to York. I mean, York doesn't need to be in the bottom row, but just use a make sure that Whitebeard is on the bottom row, and make sure he's super evolved because his 5-star form is a quick unit, no type advantage. As for the attack down, we are using Robin to reduce 5 turns. She will also give the enemy a defense down, which will be procced by her conditional attack boost, giving us even more damage. She does not remove all turns of attack down, very important. We need the ship, the Grantosaurus ship. You could also use the Sunny ship, the one that reduces attack down by a turn. Either one, but I do recommend having this ship because it's a very good ship otherwise for boosting berries. Most people will probably have it maxed, but it's very important to remove the last turn of attack down. Otherwise, you could use a support like Jozu on Whitebeard, who is a very accessible rare recruit character. So I'm just trying to avoid using a rare recruit as a support, but this guy is very accessible. You can use him instead. But yeah, otherwise you can just use the ship for the last turn of it. The enemy does not have any type of immunity on stage 2, or they do have delay immunity, but the support of Luffy on Robin will allow you to get a conditional attack boost in addition to the attack boost that Ace gives from converting the burn into an attack boost. So make sure you are running Ace as a friend captain. So with all that, on stage 2, we'll have an attack boost, and we'll also have a conditional attack boost, which isn't a lot, but being honest, you don't need all that much, especially if you aren't going too far, and you shouldn't be going too far if you're using free-to-play teams. And now the final stage, very important information here. So since we do have above 50% HP going into the final stage, the enemy will have a more deadly preemptive strike. The main thing here is that they will have a 4-turn 20-hit combo barrier. Now we can actually remove that with this team, surprisingly. Whitebeard removes 2 turns, Drake removes 2 turns. Pretty good synergy. The main thing Drake does as well is he is a very strong captain for slasher and striker. So he's the only good option to run as a captain. Having him allows our damage to be so much higher. But as I said, yeah, going into the final stage, we'll have above 50% HP and we'll have to deal with the barrier. Drake is a bit of a trash character, but in this case, he's actually pretty good. If we don't have any orbs consumed when he uses special, he still gives a 2-turn barrier reduction. So don't worry about doing anything funky with this guy's special. It's absolutely horrendous. He will also change all the block orbs that we still had from stage 2. Because remember, York only changes the bottom row into recovery. There's still your captain Drake and your friend captain Ace who will have block orbs. So it's very important that you use Drake to convert those into matching. You also give our final tap stronger value by like 10%, so that's a bit of help, but mainly his captain ability being strong and his special reducing the barrier and changing block orbs. Then we will use Ace's special. Now since the attack boost from stage 2 carries over into the final stage, we will actually get a bit of a different effect from Ace's special. Instead of providing an attack boost, he will give us a increase in our existing attack boost. That will go up from 2.75x to 3.05x, and then you'll also give us a damage reduction based attack boost. So it scales based on how much damage reduction you have. If you have a 70% damage reduction, it's a 1.75x attack boost. But that's about it. He doesn't really do much as a special if you already have an attack boost. We are not using his utility for bind reduction. That's for the intrusion fight. But we are using a special to remove the stun that we will have. But then again, that's also kind of unnecessary because you have Whitebeard to reduce our HP and remove that stun. So Ace's special, honestly, you could probably just use it on stage 2 if you wanted to. But it will help with damage a bit. As I said before, Sasaki is going to give us a 30% damage reduction, which will give us a 1.3x damage from the damage reduction based attack boost. But that's about it. Brook, you might be wondering about that character, the non-boosted unit. Unfortunately, sometimes you are cornered in team building when it comes to free-to-play teams, and you have to run a non-boosted character. Now, luckily, with Brook, you don't need to stall at all. He gets cooldown from the quest, so he goes from 13 down to 8. And then with ship, sockets, and everything, he will be ready for the final stage. He'll stall 1 turn on the first run just to make sure that he will be ready. Otherwise, your run will be screwed over. So just stall 2 turns, maybe just to check that he will be ready. And make sure he's limit broken. For his Salo ability to reduce special bind on himself. And also for the cooldown he'll get. It's very important. You don't need his double special activation maxed, since we're only using his special 1 time. So on the final stage, the enemy will have threshold of 6 turns and will give us 6 turns of special bind. York has 1 more activation. We only used it once on stage 2. So York will remove 3 turns of the threshold, and then our Brook will remove the special bind. Guys, please forgive me, but I did change up the team quite a bit. I realized Brook is kind of shit. So for York, she only is going to help us with a threshold because you need 5 or more egg tagged characters, so 4 units besides herself, to actually get the special bind removal. And Brook only reduces 3 turns of special bind on himself, so he's not going to be able to be used. So just trash units overall. And I did add some supports here who are rare recruit characters, but these are really old characters that most people will have, so I really hope you guys do have them if you are using this team. But I realized this Doflamingo, this character is insane. He's so much better. He provides 80% damage reduction, so we get a 1.8x from the damage reduction based attack boost. So good. But then he will also reduce the special bind by 6 turns. He doesn't get cooldown from the quest, but he gets 5 turns from this potential ability. So he will go down to 6 turns, then down to 5 with the ship, 3 with the sockets, down to 0 by the final stage with preemptive attacks. So he will be ready for sure. I don't even think you need him expanded, and he does remove special bind by 6 turns on himself as a sailor, so he will be very functional. But unfortunately, since we only get 3 turns of threshold reduction from York using her second time, we need to remove another 3 turns with supports. This support of Bellamy is so good. He's such an old character, but he will remove 2 turns of the threshold on Doflamingo, and then he will and then we also have Jozu on Whitebeard to remove the last turn of the threshold. So I think this is a much better solution, because even with Brook, he didn't provide any damage, he just helped with utility. So running Doflamingo is way more functional. He will be ready, he will reliably remove the special bind, facilitate the support of Bellamy, which is great for removing the threshold alongside the Jozu support and York's second special activation. So make sure York is double special activation maxed. But I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I will probably put in the comments to skip to the end of this team so that you guys use this team instead of the one I showed you at the start. Very slight changes, but big changes in terms of the damage and functionality. Now for the intrusion, this is the big one. Grams Luffy. So we get 3 turns of special rewind initially on stage 2, and then another turn of special rewind when we use a damage dealing special. Ace, the friend captain Ace, his special is damage dealing, so we will have to deal with this interrupt. It essentially gives us full health, which kind of undoes the effect of Ace's special. Ace's special cuts our HP by 99%. The interrupt will heal us back to 100%. Then we also get a turn of special rewind, and then our specials will be locked. So preemptive attacks and moving into the final stage, we won't get any cooldown for our characters. So we need to find a way to get around this. Luffy is the best option. So in terms of the initial special rewind of 3 turns, Luffy will reduce it by 2. So there's only 1 turn that we have to deal with, and then upon using Ace's special, the special rewind we get will be completely ignored. So this is a very good captain effect and very much required in clearing this content with a free-to-play team. Beyond using a special of 70 turns of cooldown, it will reduce our own attack, and it does give us cooldown, but at what cost? So we are using the Psy free-to-play Stroids once again alongside the Whitebeard. Whitebeard is just the best option to synergize with the friend captain Ace. But another reason I ran the Luffy as a captain is because he does have the mythical Zoan type tag. Alongside the Whitebeard, it will actually allow us to proc the effect in Ace's captain ability. No, in his special ability, where he states that if you have 3 or more Whitebeard pirate tagged characters, mythical Zoan type, and Roger pirate tagged characters, so he himself counts as one of these, so we need 2 characters who belong to those tags, then he will reduce his own cooldown by 13 turns, essentially allowing him to activate again on the final stage. So Luffy counts as the mythical Zoan, and then Whitebeard free-to-play counts as the other Whitebeard pirate tagged character, allowing us to use Ace's special twice in the quest. So I thought, the problem is, since we get our specials locked, where we don't get cooldown from moving from stage to stage, Ace won't be ready anyways, so it's kind of pointless. Yeah, unfortunately we can't use Ace again on the final stage. It's not too much of a train smash though, because he was just being used for damage anyways, and he didn't provide much. But on stage 2, he definitely helps. He practically solos the second stage. He converts the burn into an attack boost for 3 turns. He provides ignite with his special, which kills off the mini mobs and also goes through the resilience. And he also removes the bind. So Ace is very helpful. We also get a full board of paralysis orbs, which are very annoying, and we have to deal with an enemy barrier of 2 turns for 7 million. So we are going to ignore that barrier. We're just going to kill through it. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. As for the paralysis orbs and the special rewind, so when we get the special rewind, as I said, there will be 1 turn remaining after Gramps Luffy captain removes 2 turns of the special rewind. We will use Borsalino, and Borsalino is very cool because he allows us to use or to remove or charge our specials for 1 character. So we can tap on the ace, tap on the friend captain ace after using Borsalino. Ace will be ready. Use his special that will remove all the bind and everything else, but make sure that Borsalino is on the bottom row because the middle row gets binded. We only remove the bind with Ace's special. We need Borsalino for Ace to be ready, so Borsalino needs to be on the bottom row. As for the paralysis orbs, we are using Nami's special, which removes paralysis. It also allows us to get a conditional attack boost for paralyzed enemies. The enemy doesn't have immunity to paralysis, so this will happen. And since we have a Luffy character in the Gramps Luffy as a captain, we can get the effect where she gives a conditional attack boost. So more damage, and we also have the attack boost from Ace, which converted Burn into an attack boost. Lola support, which is available from various exchanges. I think Kizuna. She is a very recent character, but she will lock our orbs for the final stage, which is kind of nice. I don't think it's necessary though. Then when it comes to the final stage, now remember at this point, we will have our specials locked because we used a damage dealing special. This means that our Robin, as well as our Whitebeard, will not be ready. The specials will not be ready yet. Now that I'm thinking about it, Nami also won't be ready. Actually, she will be quite surprising, and that's actually really cool. So remember, Nami has 2 stages to a special, so she will still have a stage 1 ready. And even that only reduces 2 turns of paralysis, regardless of how many turns of paralysis you're removing. Even if you're removing 1 turn, it will remove all the paralysis orbs, change it into matching. So you can just use Nami's stage 1 special. That's great. You won't get the conditional attack boost, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem in terms of your damage. And then when it comes to the final stage, you can use the special of Robin to remove 5 turns of despair. As for the paralysis, it's only to your crewmates, so you don't actually have to remove it. Since Ace is our main damage dealer anyways, he won't be paralyzed. You can just start off the chain with Luffy and then kill off with Ace. So we can actually ignore the paralysis. Remember, the enemy is weak to strikers, Ace is a striker, and he has insane damage increase with his boost. He has extra 2.5x stats. So that alongside the striker weakness allows Ace to do a lot of damage, so he will be enough. As for the chain attack down, also the despair, Robin only reduces 5 turns of it, so there'll still be 1 turn remaining. That's why we have Sanji support. Unfortunately, a rare recruit character, once again very old. If I did use a support character, it's one that's a very old character, that's a rare recruit, not limited at all, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, Sanji will reduce the last turn of despair. Rikuya will give Whitebeard cooldown, so he's ready. And then also Crocodile gives Robin cooldown, so she'll be ready. Whitebeard will give us the chain boundary that we need to bypass the chain minimum attack down of 3x. He provides it so that we can start off the chain at 2.75x, which is really nice. Unfortunately, we won't get the increased damage taken from his special, since we do have our HP healed back again from the preemptive year, or the interrupt should I say. If you're below 10% and you use Whitebeard, his increased damage taken goes through full immunity, but unfortunately we don't have that condition, so he'll just provide the chain boundary, which is still really good. And of course, now that's it, that's all he provides, but honestly it's still pretty good. So that's about it. We will have matching orbs because Lola locks the matching orbs from our specials on stage 2. Unfortunately, all we'll have is an attack boost and a chain boundary effect, which really isn't too much, but you can't really expect much from free-to-play teams. If you do get the host ship ready, it's an orb boost as well if you want, I guess. But you probably need to stall a bit on stage 1 for that. Either way, with Ace, the point boost is actually really good for a full free-to-play team, and the damage should be able to last for a decent amount of time. If you do want to get more damage, you can maybe add a support to Borsalino to give you extra damage. I don't know if there is an option available for maybe color affinity, maybe an orb boost. On the final stage, nope. Color affinity, nope. Chain boost. Yeah, you can use Hakuba if you want to point for chain boost, which will go well with the chain boundary from Whitebeard. So you'll just tap with Luffy with a perfect. That'll get your chain to 3.05x, which will bypass the chain attack down, and then you can kill with Ace. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions about the teams, ask them down below. Sorry about the long video. But as always, stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.